Happy Monday. It's July 7th, 2025, and time for your Monday market update. Thanks so much for watching. Woo. I don't know about you, but I am exhausted. What a holiday weekend. It was 4 days of festivities, and I am tired. We had our client appreciation event last night. It was wonderful. I think it was our best one yet. The fireworks were amazing. The band was amazing. The food was amazing. It was great. Thank you to all of our clients who came out to enjoy it with us. It was a really fun night, and we just love celebrating our clients and with this great party, having a big celebration. So thank you to those that came. And we had a very slow real estate week because of the holiday. That is normal. We expected that. So let's take a quick look at our McHenry County numbers before we dive into what is happening. So we had 145 new listings. Now that is actually lower, which we expected. So because of the holiday, some people are holding off on listing their property until this week. I know I was doing that with a couple of my listings. We have more coming to market this week, but last week we might have held back. So seeing only 145, that is about what I would have expected. We had 150 go under contract. Now that's more under contract than newly listed, which is, different than what we've seen for the past few weeks. But it's not really that surprising because we still did have some people out looking for homes, obviously, but not as many. So we've seen more like 200 homes hitting the market in the recent weeks, 180, 190, 200 new listings. And so to see 150 under contract it makes sense. But again, to see more under contract this week than newly listed is not super surprising. I didn't quite expect that many people to be out buying houses this weekend, but I guess for the whole county, it kind of makes sense. We had 120 closed sales. That's not surprising. 42 price changes, 1 expired, and 52 currently on the private network. So not super strong numbers, but again, it was a holiday week. The holiday weeks are always going to screw everything up because some people are traveling, some people are celebrating, they're busy, they're focused on the 4th of July. We had the Crystal Lake Fest going on for 4 days. So a lot of people were doing that or going to various festivities, watching fireworks, all the things. But today is the first Monday of the month, which means we did get all of our June numbers from the MLS. So looking at InfoSparks this morning, it is going to help us kind of see what is coming down the track, in terms of our trends and how this shifting market is panning out. So for our June numbers, we saw the average sales price. Now this is interesting. This shifting market, we are not going to see prices come down as much as we will see them level out, in my opinion. Let's look at these numbers and then we'll talk about it. In Crystal Lake, the average sales price in June was $407,834. That is up 5.1% year over year. Now that's year over year. So this time last year, we had lower prices. I think we will still continue to see home appreciation continue, but it won't keep going at the rate that it was. So even though we're seeing home prices up 5% right now, that's because we're comparing it to last year. I think in June of 2026, we will see those prices kind of, not go up as much. Maybe we'll see them go up 3% or 4%, which is more regular than 5%. In Cary, we have the average sales price is $389,000. That is up 9%, almost 10%, 9.9%. So again, seeing those prices still increasing from last year to this year, but I think as the trends continue, we won't see that continue at that rate. Woodstock, $359,000, that's up 5%. McHenry is at $337,000, that's up 9% as well. So again, prices are still strong, but I believe we'll start to see them taper, not go down. Now in other parts of the country like Texas, Arizona, Florida, they've had a surplus, but those places also, between 2020 and 2021, they saw a 50% increase in prices. We saw a 20% increase in prices from 2020 to 2021. That was the biggest jump we'd ever seen, but that was a one-time thing. Now from 2021 to 2022, we saw prices also increase 10 to 12% in our area, and then we saw that continue for a while, but it's not like we went up so crazy that now we've got to see a correction. And that's what they're seeing in some of those other regions of the country. Now, the shift is coming here. It is. We are going to see things change, but we tend to be more moderate here in the Midwest. Some of the coasts and some of the southern states tend to see things a little bit more extreme. We don't get that as much here. So we still see the changes. Things still come here. Trends still happen, but just not quite to the same level. Now, month supply, let's take a look at that. Now, remember, between a 4 and 6 months inventory is a fair and balanced market. We measure our inventory on how many months it takes to sell out of whatever is currently listed if nothing else hits the market. So 4 to 6 months is a fair and balanced market. Anything under 4 months inventory is a seller's market. Anything over 6 months inventory is a buyer's market. We are still very much so in a seller's market, but it is starting to trend the other direction. In Crystal Lake, we have 1.5 months inventory. Now, that is still very, very low. However, that is a 25% increase year over year. So some people are saying, boy, it seems like there's more houses on the market. There are, but it's still very, very low inventory. In Cary, we have 1.3 months inventory. That is up 44% year over year. That's a big jump. So it's still very, very low, but we have a lot more houses on the market now than we did this time last year. In Woodstock, 1.7 months supply, that's up 30%. In McHenry, 1.4 months supply, that is up 27%. Now, when you look at different price points, those numbers change as well. If you look $750,000 or more, some of these inventories, we are well into a buyer's market. So depending on the price point that you're at, you might be in a different market than some of the other price points. So it's very, very important to look at all of the different price points when you're trying to gather information. This is the most supply that we have had since May of 2021. So we've not had this many homes on the market for this many buyers, right? So in 2021, we had more homes on the market, but we also had more buyers in the market. So this is the most months supply that we have had since May of 2021. So that is a shift. That is definitely a shift. That's a sign. Now, again, here it is at 600,000 or more. I actually pulled the numbers. In Crystal Lake, we have 4.5 months supply. That's up 28%. In Cary, still only 1.5 months supply. That's actually down. In Woodstock, 7.5 months supply for 600,000 or more. So in Woodstock, that's a lower price market. Now in Woodstock, the average sales price is only $359,000. So to have a house that's 600,000 or more, you got 7.5 months supply. That is a buyer's market. In McHenry, at 600,000 or more, we have 3.7 months supply. That is up 54%. So homes over 600,000, well, you're almost in a fair and balanced market, and you got 50% more inventory than you had last year. So again, it's very important to look at the different price points in the different areas to really get a feel for what's happening for each individual market. Now, another thing that I like to look at is the percent original list closed. So what price was the home listed at? And then it sold at, and what is the percentage difference? So in Crystal Lake, we're still at 99.2% of the original list price. Now that's actually down 0.4%. So we're seeing those. We are starting to see sellers accept under list price offers. Not a lot, very, very small increment, but we are starting to see that those numbers come under 100%. They were at 100% for a long time. In Cary, we're seeing it. We're at 99.5%. That's actually up 0.2%. Woodstock, 98.9% of the original list price. That's down. McHenry, 99.3%, down. So we are seeing these prices, we're seeing sellers get a little bit more lenient on their prices. So if you're a buyer out there, that's something to watch, that you might be able to come in under list price. Not a lot, but a very little bit. So you've got a little bit of negotiating room. We're seeing maybe the return of the home sale contingency, home close contingency. We're starting to see some of these things come back because we are seeing this market shift. So again, it is not like the market is collapsing like 2009. This is not happening, but it's also not 2022 anymore. We are seeing the return to a bit of normalcy. That's kind of what this shift is looking like. We're seeing market time increase. We're seeing percent of list price closed going down. So sellers are coming down on their prices a little bit. We're seeing the market softening. We're seeing more inventory. So this is kind of the trend that we're heading at. And honestly, this is a good thing. We can't stay in 2022 where homes are selling in 2 hours for, $30,000 over their list price. That's not sustainable. So this is a good thing that we're seeing our market kind of level out and return to normal. And I think we're going to see these trends continue. This week is going to be very interesting. So now we're after 4th of July. We're going into a more normal time period, or more normal market. And we've got kind of that last push before August when kids go back to school. They go back August 15th around here. So it's like crazy early. So we've got kind of, the next 3 weeks are going to be very interesting to see how our housing market kind of pans out with this, and interest rates are coming down too, so that's going to help as well. So any questions or concerns or comments, always please reach out to me. I'm at 815-529-0777. That is my personal cell phone number. Or you can email me, Miranda@mirandaalting.com, or message me here on social media. Have a great rest of your Monday. Bye-bye.